how are you not pissed off that it does not actually get to the crux of the issue, which is the systemic problem, okay, of patriarchy, right? Like, there's no...
But the crux of the issue for them is bitches be bad.
But that's not the crux of the issue, okay?
It is for them.
Well, that's a problem.
If these were rules made by men, what does it say about men that they made rules to sacrifice themselves for their families?
What does it say about men? Why does this girl have no mouth?
Oh, she doesn't need to.
Well, I mean, we're talking about raisin cookies versus chocolate chip cookies, and like, where do you put
She's a woman. She does not need to speak.
Yes, but where do you put the cookie?
She knows.
Where do you cookie?
She knows her place.
The place of the cookie.
This is probably going to be a very shouty episode, or at least one in which we'll be very, very, very frustrated and annoyed at what we're about to discuss.
100%, yeah.
Yes. So, Adel dear, I thought I might launch this conversation with some random banter, because it seems like all the successful podcasts are doing it. I don't know, to seem relatable or something. So, have you had any good pies lately?
Not of the American kind, unfortunately.
I don't know. It seemed like an innocuous enough topic to bring up.
Yes, it feels like everything right now, anything you bring up is just so... Everything is a hot potato.
Everything is political now. Even the pies. Damn it.
Yes.
God damn it. I had a good apple pie, though, yesterday.
Don't tell me. I don't want this envy in my life.
Technically, it was an apple tart. It was drenched.
You moving in for the tart?
Yes,
I see.
It was drenched in vanilla cream as well, so vanilla sauce and
listen,
caramel,
the visuals on this.
It was drenched, I tell you, drenched.
The visuals. Okay.
And also slightly crunchy and flaky, very flaky.
Oh, I can do flaky. Speciality.
So no good pies.
No good pies.
Oh, damn it. That's sad.
That's okay. This world still has chocolate. I'm still in it. It's fine. It's okay.
Harkening back to the chocolate episode.
Yes.
What's your... do you have a favorite kind of chocolate? We're not sponsored in any way. I'm just asking.
Well, I do.
No need to name names. Just describe the luscious taste.
I feel like we're veering into a very interesting direction. Are we even talking about chocolate anymore, Nick? I do have a favorite chocolate, yeah, but I'm off the sugar now.
Oh,
so
sadness.
No, I just suffer in silence.
Oh,
yeah, I just smell other people's chocolate.
Let me just take a sniff of your chocolate bar.
Yeah, you know how you ask people, like, can I have a bite? Now I just can have a sniff.
Oh, my girlfriend is also like that, but with Coke. Because apparently she's
in the drink. Okay.
Yes. Good one. Okay. Yeah, she's been off Coke for the drink. Again. Okay. For I don't know, she says 6 years or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. And she's like, let me just take a sniff. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's addictive to some people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I get it.
I mean, I drink quite a lot of it, so I don't know if I'm addicted.
I mean,
I could quit anytime if I wanted to.
I don't know. I haven't had Coke in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that you've given me some, I haven't had Coke in 5 minutes. But yeah, it's been a while.
Just do it! Do you want us to now jump into
less savory topics? Yes, let's jump into the less savory ones, please. Let's get this over with. It's been just hanging around my neck like a noose.
Oh, god damn it. Okay, so let's just start off with how this episode came about.
Okay.
The suffering that we're about to
unload
here. Yeah. So as any of the 5 listeners might remember, A while ago, we had the episode on Otto Weininger and his misogyny index with David, and
line goes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually one of the it has one of the highest views currently on the channel. So yeah. Line goes up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as I was telling you about the episode, I know that you told me, oh, well, if you at any point in the future feel like having another dose of patriarchy bashing, let me know, because for some weird reason, which I'm sure you will tell us more about, you've inflicted quite a bit of pain on yourself by reading a certain book by a certain person.
Self-inflicted. I should not have done that, but I did. Mm-hmm.
So do tell us more about the author, the name of the book, and why.
I don't think I can answer the why so much as I don't understand why this book is in print at all, but okay. The book is called The Myth of Male Power by Warren Farrell, aka the Warren G of misogyny.
Okay.
The reason I sort of stumbled upon this book is because I initially stumbled into Alpha Podcast YouTube, which I had managed to avoid for a very long time.
Alpha, as in alpha males?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was not fun. That was painful, but as everyone knows, like when you YouTube spiral, you just spiral. So it just goes from bad to worse to worse to worse.
It's like watching a plane crash or car crash.
Yeah, you can't look. I mean, you can.
You can, but like to a certain point, it's almost like fun because like watching a circus.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get sad.
Yeah, but you get sad very quickly, like quicker than a circus, I feel. Because so the podcasts were the podcasts, and somehow I'm not very impressed. In general, I don't really follow podcasts in that way.
Except this one,
obviously, of course. But from the Alpha podcast, I sort of went over like commentary channels, and then interviews, and then TED speeches. Ted, I'm looking at you. What the fuck, my bro?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just like this. It left me feeling a bit. I think depressed is the word.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I understand that, there's this general disgruntled feeling that the male population has in general, right? But, I mean, I don't understand why it has to be, manifest in opposition to women. I don't get this, and I didn't get it then. And I tried to, listen in a proactive way and see what was their inspiration for their argument. Because clearly they had inspiration for their arguments.
Sorry, isn't it the case that it has to be the sort of disgruntlement has to be sort of directed downwards, because obviously most guys have someone else above them who is doing the oppressing of them as well. So it's sort of, unfortunately, the first go-to mechanism to just shit on someone below you.
First of all, I need to mention that most, if not all, of the men I've heard and watched are, white cisgender men.
Of course they are.
And some of them obviously are right-wing affiliated.
I'm guessing also most of them are either American, Canadian, or maybe British.
Yes. Let's just say...
Anglosphere.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But not only, you'd be surprised. But I feel like that's an episode for a different time, because I don't have the bandwidth for
international misogyny.
I can't. I mean, even if you feel like you have an issue and you have issues, obviously you feel you have issues, and you're trying to understand yourself, your situation, where you come from, how things came about, and, hopefully you look back into history, right?
But not in anger.
I mean, don't we all? Anyhow. I mean, if you're looking for someone to blame or something to blame, I'm sure there is a way of doing that has a conclusion that is proactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has a conclusion that doesn't goad you into more conflict, right? It doesn't...
So systemic change, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, they also think it's systemic change, but systemic change is in women bad.
Yes, but I don't understand why women bad. I mean, listen, I understand their argument, but their arguments are not...
Their arguments might be valid if you think of individual cases happening,
Yes.
involving individual men and women and the way they've behaved.
Yes, so it's very granular, it's very micro. Right? They're not looking at the big pictures, or at least I don't feel like they're looking at the big picture.
Yeah, well.
Right?
They sort of think that their personal experience or their
yes, it's generalized
experience,
somehow.
Yeah.
Because they're possibly there could be other men that have gone through something similar, keyword similar, okay? And that just means that if like 2 or more people have gone through something similar, that means it's a general thing. And I'm like, okay, but some of these people have, accolades of sorts. Some of these people have PhDs. Some of these people are, people from whom you'd expect to, for some sort of analytical thinking to be happening,
somewhere along the way.
Somehow, like you have the background to, back up some of these things. Like, do you not understand what a systemic problem is? Or do you not know how to go about analyzing certain issues?
I mean, I don't know. To me, I think it's a much more basic thing that should sort of happen before you even try to come up with something that resembles, I don't know, a book, I guess.
Resembles a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that, so you're hurting, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where these things are coming from. You're hurting, or you feel like the world is unjust, and it most certainly is. And then I think that the moment your answer to that or your solution seems to veer into the direction that basically half of humanity is bad, you should just sort of stop and
maybe
think.
Reconsider.
Yeah. Because I'm sorry, like, even if you think that, no, actually, I can come up with very logical arguments and the facts are on my side, even if you think that, you damn well know that changing that, because you're not just saying it because you want to get it out, right?
Obviously.
I mean, some are so-called black-pilled in the sense that they just want to say, oh, the world is unjust and it's not like I want to do anything about it because nothing can be done and I'm just here to, I don't know, vent. Most of them have a sort of idea of, or they propose things that should change in society in order for things to get better according to their ideas. And you know that those ideas are not popular with half of humanity, or even quite a few men, who are not completely out of their fucking brains. So you know that that's going to involve a measure of violence. So basically, the moment you start realizing that, oh, okay, so in order for the world to be righted, I have to do violence to 50% or more of humanity, that's the moment when you should at least stop. Really think about what you're saying.
This guy never proposes violence against women.
No, it's just...
I mean, not outright, right? But I am sure that
it's
anyone...
like voluntary expulsion or things like that. It sounds very much like that. Voluntary expulsion. Voluntary self-combustion, maybe.
Yeah, no, he's not. I don't think he has the capacity for self-hate. But
no, voluntary self-combustion for like the people he thinks are doing the bad things.
Oh, so women?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Bitches be in flames.
I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly his disdain for women is very obvious throughout the book. Like, it doesn't take a genius to,
here
notice.
We are poisoning the well. Before we even say anything about the book.
Yeah, so basically this guy, under the guise of being a feminist...
An ex-feminist.
Well,
basically.
Debatable. He says he's a feminist, but then he disproves the theory every step of the way.
Okay.
But but he just uses that as, as bait for skeptics, so people will actually read the thing and, not hold it against him because, oh no, I'm a feminist. Oh.
Is this like the Milo Yiannopoulos thing? Like, oh, I'm saying all these outrageous things.
The YOLO Minneapolis.
Is this one of those things where you use your identity or your pertaining to a certain group as but I'm not. I couldn't possibly mean this in a bad way.
He does that, yeah. Mm-hmm. He definitely does that. Yeah, he's hiding behind something of a shield.
Yeah.
The shield of feminism, which clearly he doesn't appreciate at all. Okay, so basically he introduces this idea of male disposability, right? And he takes us down memory lane. Mm-hmm. He does a historical.
So this is like the sort of backbone of his book.
Yes, that men are somehow disposable and they don't actually have any power. It's just...
Is this trying to use the sort of naturalistic argument that because many animal species have males as, yes, they're basically...
I thought you were going to say that men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Oh, God damn it, no. That's actually insulting now.
I know, but it goes so well. It complements the book so well.
But is this a sort of because in many animal species the male are basically there for reproduction and then literally many of them just die. They penis inserted into thing and then dead. Or maybe
I don't think he argues
examples.
Specifically on that, possibly because he doesn't know about this. Mm-hmm. But this idea is definitely introduced as part of human history and, how reproduction was basically the driving factor behind where we are today as a civilization. It's because men were disposable in history and ancient history that we are here because they have sacrificed themselves.
Oh.
After they raped some women whom had children. Because apparently, I'm not gonna get into the rape thing because he says so many things about rape and including comparing rape to a man losing his job. And
wow.
I just he says certain things. Of course none of them are backed up by actual
of course no.
I mean, he does back it up with certain statistics, but the statistics are not actually sourced from some place. It's very
you don't want...
it's one of the Nixon graph that he did with it's something like that.
You don't need nosy feminists looking up any sources.
Absolutely not.
Because what happens mostly with these sort of outrageous claims is if you look at the actual source, it almost never says what they say it does, or they're just truncated it and they've distorted the meaning.
Exactly.
Or the study specifies that, hey, the sample size or the conclusions that we've come to, they are very limited by the narrow confines of our own parameters. So
the entire book is clearly so spiteful towards women in general. It's so difficult to swallow it. I don't know. I actually sat through it, like a movie.
Yeah.
But I read it with my eyes.
And I know that as we were discussing this episode, then you sent me your notes, and I also had a look. I said, okay, well, let me just pick a random chapter because there's a lot to unpack. And I think he's basically doing a Gish Gallop, but in written form, because he's just piling on bad takes upon bad takes, and it would basically take a whole podcast that would have I don't know, maybe 10 seasons to just go through all the stuff. And I think
disprove it scientifically first of all, and then
I think at the end of the day, it's no, he will just keep on writing new books.
He has.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, by the way, this book is I mean, I'm guessing it's written sometime in the 80s because it was published in the early 90s. So I suppose he spent some time writing it. So yeah, it is dated in that respect, but the ideas are still used today by our dear friends, the alphas, and our dear friends,
I mean, it's an honored tradition, as we've seen, because again, like in the Otto Weininger episode, these are the damn it! These ideas are not new. 19th century Weininger also didn't invent them either. He just compiled them, and again, those ideas were
used later on, you know?
Yeah. So
with the Nazis. Okay. Just putting that out there so people know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did try to select the chapter and maybe have this as a more structured conversation, but you cannot really have it because
there is no structure.
There's no structure
exactly.
to it. It's just basically someone rambling, but in written form. So I thought that maybe what we could do, since you've been gracious enough to outline this idea of like male disposability as one of the main points that go throughout the book. I think another key point that we might need to speak about is his idea of stage 1 and stage 2 societies.
Yeah.
So apparently, I understand that he defines stage 1 marriages or relationships or societies, whatever, he uses the terms interchangeably, as the ones we've had for thousands of years, basically, and they were survival-focused affairs. After World War II, however, marriages increasingly turned to what he calls stage 2, or self-fulfillment-focused relationships. So in stage 1, most couples were role mates rather than soulmates, with women raising children, men, I don't know, raising money, men being the breadwinners, of course.
You know, he was a hunter, I was a gatherer, that sort of thing.
And in stage 2 relationships, couples were increasingly focused on maybe finding a decent human being that you can
so the idea of partnership,
So, you know, it's sort of this, once the lower rungs of Maslow's pyramid had been achieved, then people started thinking more about fulfillment in terms of
the individual,
which, okay, but also, just like many of the things he talks about, it's very simplistic, and of course it's slanted towards whatever he's trying to say.
Because he wrote the conclusion first, or he wrote his main idea first, and then, you know, he built the narrative so it fit his original idea. Yeah, I feel like this sort of thing is like, it's a theory he puts forth, but like it's just a general idea, okay? Like the sort of idea you'd have, you know, hanging out with a friend and like smoking too much weed and like talking shit, basically. Like it's not something that you want to put in a book and say, yeah, this is the thing, this is our issue. Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, I actually do believe that men are suffering. I don't find their pain amusing, or I'm not dismissing their issues at all. It's just when you use books like these and ideas like these as like center points for certain theories, you can't reach a conclusion that is a positive conclusion for everyone, right? So clearly it's already biased. Right? Like, you're not doing this in any sort of scientific way. You are not helping the situation, my guy. Okay? You're not helping anyone, and you are double not helping women because you're totally throwing them under the bus in this whole thing.
And basically, you're doing the whole, okay, so we have group A that needs help. We have group B that needs help, right? So... And I'm not saying that, it has to be a win-win situation, because obviously if the way things are arranged is untenable and if people are suffering, someone is going to quote unquote lose. And that is usually the people who have disproportionate amount of power and influence and who have been at the origin of these bad
issues,
rules, or who maintain them, right? So they are...
Yes, the perpetrators and the propagators of these issues.
They are definitely going to feel this as taking an L, and they should.
But do they though? Because they feel... I feel like they don't want to, you know? They don't really have to... They don't really want to talk about this, and because of their privilege, they don't really have to talk about this in any serious way.
And this is the perversity of the situation, where you don't attack the people who are actually doing the bad. And instead,
of course not.
You're just... this is, again, what's happening in terms of poor people fighting among themselves. This is Parasite.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yes.
So this is poor people fighting among themselves. This is, men who are hurting fighting with women who are hurting because, I don't know, instead of actually addressing the problems.
Yes, a problem which is highly faceted and which manifests differently at different levels. And I feel like he does not touch on that at all in this book.
Yeah. And actually, I wanted to say, and to also return to the whole white simplistic, the way he portrays stage 1 and stage 2 relationships, is that what he does throughout the book, I've noticed, is he just ignores... He's not the only one at fault regarding this, but he totally omits any consideration about class.
Of course.
Like,
obviously.
There's nothing. It's like Downton Abbey all the way.
Yes, all the theories are put forth, but they're all related to aristocracy or any information that we might have that has remained throughout history with us. But it's only because it was the upper classes, because everyone else was just
and he
disposable.
Either he just portrays things from the perspective or the sort of situations that someone in in the upper classes would face, or he assigns ways of thinking and ways of acting of the upper classes to the lower classes, like he mentions the bring out your dad people during the Black Plague, and it's just idiotic.
It's very difficult to...
No, it's also, I mean, it's a very triggering book. And I haven't even read all of it. It's just...
Yeah, but for example, a lot of these guys that I've listened to, they use this as a starting point in the conversation. And I'm like, if you've read this book as a man, how are you not pissed off that it does not actually get to the crux of the issue, which is the systemic problem, of patriarchy, right? There's no...
But the crux of the issue for them is bitches be bad.
But that's not the crux of the issue,
It is for them.
Well, that's a problem. So, that's first off. And second off, as a man, I would want my issues to actually be treated like a serious thing. If I don't get to the correct conclusion, right? So if I have an error in thinking or an error in my theory, I have the wrong conclusion, I will not be able to actually treat the problem.
What do you mean, Adel? Well, everything would be perfect if bitches would behave. That's why by that logic, everyone in the past was actually happy.
If a doctor misdiagnoses you, right? This is the perfect analogy. If a doctor misdiagnoses you and treats a different issue, right? Or treats a mild symptom that you have, you don't want them to do that. You want them to treat the problem. Yes.
Men never get sick. I don't know what you're saying.
I mean, it's fine.
They just die heroically, as the author puts it. They are just sacrificed heroically for the good of the people.
Of course, because women never sacrifice themselves for anything every day. It's not like they have this extra job, all these extra jobs that nobody pays attention to because labor.
Women be selfish, we all know that.
Yeah, they're super selfish. All the work that women do is not considered labor at all. Yeah, thanks. Okay. See, this is why I need chocolate in my life. I can't believe I gave up sugar. Shit.
Okay, so trying to move on to a different utterly demented point he makes. Not even trying to disguise
yes,
how
we're
we
just
feel about
laughing
this.
because we're in pain. It's okay.
Yes. So he does bring up this thing again and again about male subservience to female beauty. This is basically the Madame Pompadour argument. Like,
yeah,
Louis was horny. She was, she was, she was the object of that horniness, and she got involved in court
drama,
intrigue. So yeah.
And then she died. Yeah, great. Okay, I just want to like emphasize the fact that just because you are an object of desire for someone, that does not mean that you actually have power over them, because the power that you have is not really power, it's an illusion of power.
Should we just outline to those who are not particularly interested in anything history related, that the thing that happened at court when the king, the monarch, died, was that the headmistress, whoever she was at the time, the favorite, the whatever you want to call her, she would just be exiled from court. Most often she would be forcefully sent to a convent.
Yeah.
And she would lose anything in terms of influence. I'm not sure if she was stripped of all the... Because I think that at least in terms of the French court, they did care for the bastards, the illegitimate children that were fostered as a result of the relationship. They didn't just become dirt poor. But obviously, no matter how high flying you were as a
you could only be high flying if the object that desired you, as in the man, was still alive and still had influence and or power.
So this is, again, just not wanting to admit to the very simple logic of how power operates. And yes, of course, power can be shared. You can distribute bits and pieces of your power to others, because this all not only happened to whoever was the mistress, of course, but to like favorites in other ways.
So I don't know exactly what sort of power he mentions, because he doesn't really, he doesn't put like a geographical pinpoint into anything. He doesn't really outline a culture. It's not really a study. It's just man has an opinion and he's building a sandcastle around his opinion. Oh, by the way, like as a side note, he doesn't really do debate. Like everything I found online is just like either people who agree with him, of course, both men and women, because that's how the right uses women. But
I'm not like other girls.
Sure. Of course. But I never find anything that is actually a debate on the issues. And he takes full control of any sort of production that people try to make around his points and his theories in this book. Like, he controls everything. If he doesn't want something to be, up for debate, it's not going to be. And I feel like that's just so...
It's like Apple, but with misogyny.
Yeah, kind of.
Is this okay? Do I need to edit this out as well? Is it controversial?
I mean, this is... You can edit out anything you like, It's fine. This is just a voice. I don't really exist. I'm not really a person,
I mean, we already established with David that women have no soul, so...
Absolutely.
Otto said it, so...
I'm not...
I do believe Otto. # believe Otto.
I mean, someone had to, considering what we're looking at now. Otto, Bataille, Evola. Yeah, all those.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you this.
Ooh, the scoop.
I got a YouTube comment on the Otto episode. I just didn't know how to react. I'm not sure if it's trolling, but I
oh boy, what?
I think they're not trolling. It's a comment going like, "Oh, I'm so glad you helped me discover this wonderful guy called Otto. I will read more about him."
What? So he does not, or she doesn't, or they don't understand sarcasm?
I don't know. Probably not. Or I don't know. I really hope they're trolling because that sort of
But it was pretty obvious in the episode. I don't feel like it could have been misconstrued as something else.
I felt so bad reading it. Because I was like, so this is in vain. Trying to discuss this is
normal. This is normal. Like, you know, people who have access to YouTube. This is what it's like. I mean, listen, you can't expect the audience to be like, you know, fully with you on all points or on everything. And you can expect that someone will misunderstand, especially if they're not very well versed in the subject. Mm-hmm. It's not going to go over the way you want it
Although
to.
He literally, I quoted him as saying,
you just turned the baby Nazi. Congratulations, baby alt-right.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Didi.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the doubts come roaring back.
It's okay.
I think more people should have doubts.
Yes, I think you should turn off your comments. That's one thing I think you
Zero
should do.
engagement.
So the power of beauty, the women with the beauty and the power and listen, this guy discovered desirability politics and he didn't know what to do with it. And he misinterpreted it and then blamed women for it because that's what you do. And, you know, he just went with the Kreutzer Sonata, basically. That's what he did.
But he doesn't even have a solution to all this. Like, men still be horny, right?
Of course he doesn't have a solution to it because you can't
just find a solution.
Yes, you can't have a solution to a problem that isn't an actual problem. I mean, you know, I'm sure, you know, incels and, you know, like that part of, I don't know, the internet certainly has put forth some solutions.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like...
all of them final.
Yes, but for everyone involved, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Bring back slavery. Bring back slavery of women, of course. Sexual slavery of women. Yeah, okay. That's what I want to hear in the 21st century. Totes.
I love this one. So it says... Part of women's anger at men comes from the belief that men made the rules and made them to oppress women and benefit men. Since most institutions are headed by men, when these institutions don't meet our needs, we tend to blame men. This is basically like slapping me in the face and at the same time telling me violence is not the answer, my dear.
I mean, I have no words in case you can't tell because you can see my face, but people won't be able to see my face.
Yeah.
But...
So he's spelling it out, you know.
Yeah, he's spelling out the fact that, yes, I understand that this is the issue, but I'm telling you this isn't the issue.
Yeah, because he's basically like, oh, you're just being very emotional about this. And, you know, it's, yeah, sure, the institutions that are headed by men, they've made the rules to benefit them. You are pissed off because they don't work for you, so you blame men. But, like, it's circular. Yes, of course. You're just describing what happens. People protest against institutions or... leaders that do not represent or ignore their needs.
Yeah.
He's just twisting this as if, oh, see what I did here. It's just like you are just, I don't know, being mean towards your manager or something because, I don't know, you're having a bad day.
Please, you're on your period.
Exactly.
You missed the point. Yeah. Okay.
Another gem. When we think of political bosses, bribes and patronage, we tend to think of male power, male corruption, the good old boys network, male chauvinism and male dominance. The unraveling of this process is associated with the unraveling of these symbols of male dominance. However, in stage 1, political bosses, bribes and patronage were acceptable, not because they served men, but because they served families, including women and children. The boss remained in power only as long as he created jobs to feed their families. He built his machine from the economic underclass, so these jobs fed the poor. The fact that they were jobs, not welfare, allowed the families respect.
Right, so we're just gonna gloss over the subservience of the family, but okay.
There's so much there, but
I know it's so much to unpack, like economically, politically, you know.
It's basically a sort of the bosses are job creators argument, but like with an ahistorical twist to it. And okay, let's
job creators. What the fuck is
yes,
a
I mean
job creator?
that's the only reason why they kept being bosses, because they provided a very important, I don't know.
Right. Who let them be bosses? I should not ask the... Okay.
No.
Okay.
We don't go there.
Bine.
Okay, so I mean,
I'm gonna stop. I'm just not gonna.
Okay, let's try to not completely be emotional and womanly.
Don't go crazy. Don't be hysterical.
Yes. So I was thinking maybe of. It's a bit of an insult to Tocqueville.
Okay.
But I'm going to compare his attempt at an argument to what Tocqueville is making in his book about the Ancien Regime in France, because he also, as far as I understood it, with my tiny woman brain at least.
Oh, please.
He's making...
You do a tiny, but yes, according to Otto Weininger. Yes. How dare you read a book? Yeah. You won't understand anything. You're a woman.
Of course not. So Tocqueville makes the argument that, or in the build-up to the French Revolution, basically the French nobility gained a really bad PR, not because peasants and the middling sorts, incoming bourgeois, had a problem with them being upper class in principle. Like, they didn't have these ideas about democracy or about equality or about the whole you cannot have special privileges, but rather that there was this social contract which the nobles were not fulfilling on their side because they were too busy after Louis XIV moving basically to Versailles and staying there full time in order to be within the monarch's graces. And so in terms of what they did on the hacienda, on their domains, they were not good feudal landlords, basically. Yeah. They didn't care for the peasants and the people living on their domains. And so that's why basically they eroded their legitimacy. And I mean, okay, in terms of...
everything is basically a peasant revolt if you think about it,
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, we need to do a peasant revolt episode or one or two.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Bobulna, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in terms of sort of what you learn in Politics 101, okay, yeah, sure, political legitimacy is given and maintained in theory by sort of proposing and delivering on a vision of the future, right? And if you don't, or if you then even fail to deliver on very basic human needs, then, don't be surprised if you end up hanging upside down. I don't know.
The guillotine.
Or the guillotine. Yeah. But to be honest, when it comes to this sort of thing, a lot is also down to coercion or the threat of violence. And this is something that we don't really talk that much about because it's scary. The truth be told, it's scary. And I'm not saying that a regime based on purely oppression and violence works in the long term, at least. But even a regime that is not fulfilling, as I said, basic human needs, can still live long and prosper. For maybe in historical terms, it's not long, but in terms of human lives, and
it's long.
It's a lot.
I mean, we have plenty of examples.
Yeah, North Korea.
Yes,
for instance.
That's just one.
Yeah, just one. So I want to say that this idea that he also brings up in his book about protection, and he uses the fact that for most people, the word protection has obviously a positive connotation, right? Like, you protect your baby, you protect vulnerable people. It's a very noble thing, right? Even though, the Russian protectorate of one thing or another.
When you say protectorate, you can just say goodbye. It's fine.
Yeah, so he does harp on this ability and duty to protect that supposedly men of various classes and times in history had. But that's not...
I don't really...
It's not that way. I'm sorry, dude, because...
I mean, it's leveled, I feel like.
It's what?
It's kind of on different levels. I mean, I don't feel like men on higher levels, for example, the aristocracy or whoever was in power, practiced any sort of protection for the people themselves.
They were protecting the...
Other than them as a resource.
Exactly.
Right? They were protecting land. They were protecting their resources, including the human resources. But I don't feel like they were actually protecting, people.
They did not have some high-minded sense of duty.
Right. But if you take men or people in general as individuals, yes, they have tendencies to protect other people that they care about, they love. Or they are invested in them in an emotional sense, their parents.
Yeah, but this is not it. For mostly, as you said, in terms of protecting, the peasants on your land, you protected them because
they worked your land, so you were directly invested in protecting. They were your human resource. Okay.
This is why it's so annoying when you're trying to put that whole job creators things onto different historical times, because they were literally takers.
Yeah, it's still a feudal system, and you just put a different hat on it.
So it was basically not even the whole thing that we have today, like, okay, I'm the capitalist, I create the framework in which you have to pour in your labor and your hours and your bodies and your minds, and then, I skim off the best bits and leave you with scraps. No, it was, you were the farmer, you were the whatever you were. You had set up your business, you had your thing, and then he would be like, okay, nice place you have here. Would be ashamed if something were to happen to it. And just,
especially if you don't give me like 90% of your profits.
Yeah, so they were takers. They were not job creators or shit like that, who were, I need to create, I don't know, some more economic activity for my peasants to thrive. So it's just...
But did he strike you that, like, the type who understands history in a concrete sense?
No.
I mean,
not
in a theoretical sense. Like, concretely, when you read something, do you understand how that manifests in the daily lives of people? Do you understand how it works, like how it functions? Like, that's what I'm saying about this is why I told you that I would not recommend this book to certain people. Like most people, I would not recommend it, because if you read this and you are not used to thinking in an analytical way and understanding and judging things, like, you would not get why it's so dangerous, I guess. Like, why it's so easy for people to be...
Don't read this book if you're stupid, is what Adel is saying.
No, it's so easy, though, for certain people to be radicalized by this book. Like, this is...
So on the topic of sacrifice and protection again, right?
Boy.
Because this is the leitmotif of this whole book. He says, a hero was basically a slave whose purpose was to serve and protect. Again, the protection thing. To protect the community in general, women and children in particular. In exchange, heroes received the respect and love of those they protected, just as the appreciation we gave our mother's cooking kept her cooking and gave her an ego bribe to be a slave to her role in the kitchen. So statues and tales of glory are ego bribes for males to be slaves to their roles as heroes. Appreciation keeps the slave a slave. Again, this is just a paragraph.
Just one.
Out
of almost 300 pages, just saying.
Do you want to blow up? Or am I allowed to blow up first?
Please blow up. Please blow up instead of me, please.
Yeah, so
sacrifice yourself, Diana, and blow up.
I don't know.
I appreciate your sacrifice.
Yes. I will protect.
Please protect. I attack, you protect.
I don't know even where to begin, because, as you said, like, caring for, as an individual specifically, caring for people and even, doing selfless, self-sacrificing for them, it's something that people do, and gradually,
like, not one person, many people have done this.
Actually,
sometimes against their will.
Our scientific, the way science is sort of making progress in terms of understanding more about our world, we discovered that it's not just humans, so it's not just something we discovered, let's sacrifice and protect the weak and let's care for one another. This is not just a human thing. Like, this is sort of one of the evolutionary things. Like, yes, we are also selfish and we want to sort of do everything in order to survive, but cooperation is also beneficial for the larger group, we also do that. So, of course. And these are things that you can see across all ages and genders and cultures. So it's also sort of weird how he tries to twist this idea of altruism as slavery. Like, what? Like, no, man. Like, when you choose to sacrifice things, this is when it's altruism. When you are forced into, that's when
it's no longer,
it's very basic. I don't know why. And also, we really need to talk about this difference between the once, maybe, perhaps, possibly in a lifetime big sacrifice that you might be asked to do versus the daily, eternal, very real, very concrete, definitely happening sacrifice that we generally associate with women or, groups who are in any way disadvantaged. Because, yeah, sure, is it true that many cultures have this pressure on men to sacrifice in terms of especially, enrolling in the military when war comes, for instance?
So, like, these traditional gender roles in society, other than the nuclear family type thing.
These are ideas. Like, again, the thing about, for instance, a ship goes down and women and children are first to go into the lifeboats and men, and they need to be there and care for everyone to get safe passage. Yeah, these are ideas. Does it happen like that most of the time?
I don't think so.
I think it's very highly dependent on a lot of things. For instance, the Titanic, like class differences. I understand that, for instance, the people in third class were told to, even when the ship had been flooded, to just stay there and not come on board, because
those were all people, not just men.
Yeah. Because,
this is what I was talking about, like being the issue being multifaceted and being on different levels. Like it intersects differently based on the level that you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to point out the fact, you can insert this anyway, by the way. Like, he does not mention any BIPOC people in his stats, right? Mm-hmm. There's no mention of, like, sexual orientation, differences between gender and sex, nothing like that. Like, there's no intersectionality, does not touch on the issue, does not touch on non-heteronormative issues.
He does mention the Inca runners.
Well, he does mention homosexuality in the sense that...
In the weirdest sense possible.
Because it provided, like, free love without the burden of children, and then it was outlawed because of that. Like,
yeah, if men got a taste of how good it's to have sex without the women nagging them afterwards, I guess.
Yeah,
they would. I don't know. It's just stupid.
Like, I don't. Yeah.
And by the way, even following his logic, who would be doing the banning?
All of these issues. Without exception, okay? All of these issues have been invented, perpetrated, and propagated by dudes. How do I put this in a way that it makes sense?
I mean, I think he would argue that if women were... He wouldn't argue this because...
He wouldn't argue. He wouldn't talk to a woman.
He wouldn't talk to you first and foremost.
I know.
Like, no matter how you twist it, even if you're like, yes, but actually, you see, no, this is more about people being in power who are mean, which I generally agree with that. I don't think that, put women in charge of everything and all the problems would just go away. No, obviously there's a wider problem with the ways things are sort of set in place. But even if you follow that very simplistic counter argument, oh yes, but women would do the same. But like, oh, so you mean it's not women running the show? Isn't that what you kept telling us? That it's actually not men running the show? Then who the fuck is running the show? Is it the NBs? I know it's the NBs. God damn you, NBs! I knew you were up to no good.
No, it's the reptilians and the Illuminati, who apparently have no sex or gender. They're like,
So
angels or some shit.
Now?
Che?
Are we species now? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I keep slipping into Romanian. I'm so pissed. It's fine.
It's fine. It's actually part of the lore.
I don't know who's running the show, but definitely not men.
No. Okay.
No, it's all the women. Women bad. Women bad. They need to be punished. But it's so interesting that this guy kind of, argues that, says that feminists did such a great job, going against traditional gender norms, yada, yada, yada. Yet I feel like he's enforcing every single gender norm with his argument. Like, if you go further with each of his little flimsy arguments, like all of them reinforce traditional gender norms, like, hail to the 50s or some shit. Like,
I think that despite what all the bitching and moaning in this book, I think that basically these people do not want anything to change, because they do realize they do admit it to themselves that actually the status quo is favorable to them. And I think maybe the reason why some of their, prescriptions are also this goddamn horrible and stupid is also because they know that nobody's going to really, oh God, let's not jinx it. But they probably know they are unreasonable, but it doesn't really matter because they don't want this discussion to lead anywhere really. They just want to grift first and foremost, and God damn it, he has done a good job of that. And
but
he's
my
okay.
Boys,
he's
the
okay,
dude.
but he's okay this way, the way the world is now. He's fine. He has a career.
He's fine because he's privileged.
It's fine for him. And he doesn't really care about the poor guy who actually has mental health issues. And
is reading this book, and then in 3 years' time he's gonna shoot up a school
Amazon and stuff. Obviously he doesn't. So guys, no, he does not. Daddy does not care for you.
He's the reason Daddy left.
I kept referring to the Inca runners and the plague.
Apparently, it really hit a.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to read the quote now.
Okay.
He says, during the bubonic plague in Europe, he says, 14th century, I did my reading on it. Men who carried the corpses were subject to catching the plague. Oh no, really?
Wow.
Poor peasant man. Oh, so class does exist, apparently. Called Gavotti. Again, he's done the reading, guys. He's done the reading.
Watch the documentary. Relax.
Yeah. So these poor peasant men volunteered to do this. I mean, volunteered.
I don't feel like
highly
that's
debatable.
Volunteer and poor and peasant, though they don't go together in a sentence.
It's a very libertarian take. Like, you volunteer to sign this contract because, I don't know, you could just choose to be rich instead, I guess.
Totally. That's why I'm not rich, because I didn't choose to be rich.
You make choices, girl.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, so these poor peasant men volunteered to do this for the money it gave them. Many died, but their families were supported, because the families didn't die, because if you catch a disease...
They probably died, and if the person doing this died, there's no guarantee that the money would go to any family member. What year are we talking about? This isn't 1950s.
So he continues. On the surface, it would appear that the Gavotti corpse carriers had money, and that the Inca runners had physical strength and power. But both knew they would be dying so their families could live. If these were rules made by men, what does it say about men that they made rules to sacrifice themselves for their families?
What does it say about men?
I'm doing this for you, honey. I'm shoveling these plague-ridden corpses for you. And for the children. Never forget the children. Take it for the family.
Especially if the children are girls, That's totally why you do it.
Yeah.
Everyone was super happy to have girls so that they could, you know.
And this is why in countries where there was at one point, let's say, one-child policy, there are no demographic imbalances between men and women, for instance.
I love the sarcasm on that one.
I'm sure there will be a commenter who's like, oh, yes, actually, that's true. It's exhausting. I'm sorry. This has been a most disjointed episode, but this has been a most disjointed year as well. And I think that
it's only been 3 months, but it's okay. It's still 2020, right? Yeah, it feels like that.
I think my aim for this year is to just try to keep the ball rolling.
I mean, you could get two, and then they could be rolling against each other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So
do you remember those Chinese balls, like the ones
the metal ones?
Yeah, the ones that had some sort of tingly-lingly.
Tingly-lingly.
Yeah, they had some sort of bell on the inside, and they used to.
I remember them being.
What was it? Stress balls? Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, at some point, for like 5 years, all grandparents had them in their house, and I don't know. It was like a trend. It was very weird. Like anywhere.
The glass fish.
Yeah, exactly. Like they put it like somewhere where everyone could see them, like, you know, on top of the TV or something.
Your grandparents kept their bowls,
you know, on display. On display. Okay.
What do I even say for this outro?
How do we conclude?
How do we conclude? How do we even?
Comment, like, subscribe, please.
Yes,
honestly,
we definitely need. We're doing this for you.
We need an emotional support pour.
We're doing this for you. We've sacrificed to protect you from the contents of this book.
To protecc. Please pay attention. Please stop reading shit. Please invest in good books. Please grow as people. Yes. Please.
Okay, bye.
Bye.